All right, so let's talk about electric motorcycles. I mean, beyond all the glossy ads and the marketing hype, what's it really like to own one? We're going to dig into the real challenges and maybe more importantly, some of the super clever solutions that actual owners have come up with. Let's get right into it.
You know, the appeal is just undeniable. First, there's this weird, almost surreal silence. And then you twist the throttle and you get this tidal wave of instant torque. It feels like you're being launched off a silent catapult. It's a totally unique experience. You really feel like you're riding a piece of the future. It's just pure, clean, and ridiculously fast. Okay, but for all those futuristic thrills, let's be real. There are always two huge questions that pop into everyone's head, right? How far can I actually go on this thing? And how long am I going to be stuck waiting for it to charge when I get there? We're talking, of course, about range and charging time.
So let's tackle that first big one, range. You've probably heard of range anxiety, and yeah, it's a real thing. But what we're about to see is that the story here is way more complex than just that one number they print on the spec sheet. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? That little percentage on your dashboard becomes your whole world. You're constantly doing the math in your head, and that little bit of doubt can really suck the fun out of a good ride. But what if I told you that number isn't even telling you the whole truth? Well, a lot of the time, the culprit is the bike's own brain, the battery management system, or BMS. Thing is, over time, it can kind of lose track of how much juice the battery actually has. This leads to this bizarre thing riders call magic charging, where you'll park the bike with, say, 10% left, come back a few minutes later, and suddenly the BMS has found an extra 20 or 30% out of thin air. So how do you fix it? Well, this is where the owner community got really clever. They figured out this trick. You have to run the battery completely dead, and I mean past 0%, until the bike just gives up and stops moving. Then you immediately plug it in and do a full, uninterrupted charge. This basically forces the BMS to relearn the battery's true top and bottom, and boom, you often get all that lost range back.
Now, the manufacturers are also working on this with better hardware. The early batteries, these HM cells, were basically old hybrid car tech. They had these physical connection issues, crimping, that caused a lot of that magic charging weirdness. But the newer bikes, and even the warranty replacements for older ones, are getting these new BCB cells. They were built from the ground up for full EVs, and they're not just more reliable, they're also about 10% more efficient. That means more real-world miles for you. All right, so that's range. Now for that second major hurdle. Charging. We've all got this image in our heads of being stuck somewhere for hours and hours, waiting for a charge. But once again, the community of owners is showing everyone that the reality can be a whole lot different. First off, let's just admit it. Public charging can be a real headache. You're juggling a bunch of different apps for all these networks. You might drive all the way to a station just to find out it's broken, or there's a car already parked there. It can be super frustrating when all you want to do is ride. But what if the best charging station isn't public at all? What if the real answer is waiting for you in your own garage? And what if we could sum it all up with just one number, 5.8 kilowatts? And this quote explains everything. See, 5.8 kilowatts is the power you get from a simple 240-volt, 30-amp circuit, the kind of plug you'd use for an electric clothes dryer. It's way easier and cheaper to get installed than the monster setups people think they need. And like the quote says, it's much, much more than fine for charging your bike overnight. Okay, this slide is super important because it clears up a huge misconception. That box you put on the wall, it's not actually the charger. It's called an EVSE, and it's basically just a really smart and safe power outlet. The real charger is built right into your motorcycle. The EVSE's only job is to talk to the bike and say, hey, here's how much power you can safely pull from this circuit. The bike is always the one in control. And just look at the difference it makes. If you plug into a regular wall outlet, that's level 1 charging, it can take like all night and then some. But if you install even a basic level 2 EVSE, like that 5.8 kilowatt setup, it completely changes the game. You can get a massive charge in just a few hours while you're asleep. For 99% of your riding, it's the perfect solution. So home charging is clearly the answer for daily rides. But what if you want to charge even faster on the go, and you don't want to spend thousands on official gear? Well, this is where things get really cool, because this is where the owner community gets truly innovative. This quote just perfectly captures the whole DIY mindset. It's not that your bike is broken. The stock stuff works just fine, but you just want more. More speed, more power, more capability. You want to push things past what the factory decided was good enough.
And honestly, it all comes down to value. I mean, look at this. The official accessory charger from the manufacturer actually gives you less power and costs $600. But for around $300, forum members figured out you could buy this industrial Elcon charger that gives you almost double the power. More speed for half the price? Yeah, that's a pretty good reason to roll up your sleeves. Now, this isn't some simple plug-and-play thing. You need the right parts, some specific tools like a hydraulic crimper, and a little bit of patience. But the most important tool on this list is that last one, the shared knowledge from the community forums. People post detailed guides, parts lists, and they help each other troubleshoot, making these advanced mods something a regular person can actually do. And this is that moment, that feeling when it all works. This simple, excited quote from the forum member who first figured out this hack, it just captures that pure joy of a successful project. You didn't buy the expensive official part. You built it yourself, and it's working. The watts are going in. And the result is just a massive leap in performance. By combining the bike's stock charger with one or even two of these DIY chargers, owners are building bikes that can pull down 5 kilowatts or more from a public station. This absolutely slashes wait times and really starts to unlock true long-distance travel on these things. So what does all this hacking and tinkering really tell us about the future of electric motorcycles? Let's kind of wrap this up with the key points. So what we've seen here is that the two biggest things holding electric motorcycles back, range and charging, they're being solved. And not just by the big companies with these slow, gradual updates. They're being solved right now by this incredibly passionate and smart community of owners who are just sharing everything they learn and empowering each other. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question. While the giant corporations are setting the baseline, is the real progress, the real-world usability of this technology actually being driven by the users themselves? The hackers and the tinkerers, the ones who aren't just waiting for the future to happen, but are out there building it in their own garages? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.